Hi everyone, this is Anil. In this video series, we will see how I unbox telecommunications and media assurance workflows. So this is a scoped application that is part of telecommunications and media suite of applications from ServiceNow. So what are the benefits of telecommunications and media assurance workflows? First, we will get best practice workflows embedded into incident management, enhanced impact analysis capabilities that enable identification of customers affected by incident, tighter integration between incident management and FSM to improve resolution times for remote issues, ability to initiate proactive cases associated with customers for network incidents and track updates between incidents, cases, and work orders, a single pane of view for service resolution with service-aware CMDB. The plugin name is SN_IND TSM SD-WAN. So we'll look at this application and we will see what components are part of that. So if you see here, this is the scoped application, telecommunications and media assurance workflows. And the version we are looking at is 1.3.9. And if you go here, it's a paid plugin and it is the title of this application is it is used to reduce incident resolution times with telecommunications and media assurance workflows. Now, if you go to Studio, you can see that it has all these components. It has these script includes, and then we have this client scripts. Then there's a role and ACLs for that. Then there's one system property, a lot of messages, system messages. And then we have this inbound integrations. We have a scripted REST API. And then we have this flow designer flows, and then there is an action. So we will go through a couple of script includes in this video, and then we will continue the unboxing in the subsequent videos. So the first thing script include is TMFTroubleTicketAPIConstants. So this is the code of that. TMF stands for Telemanagement Forum. So this is a organization that supplies all this APIs, which helps interoperability between different like subscribers, vendors, CSPs, and so on. Now, as part of that, ServiceNow also aligned their APIs to meet this TMF standards. And if you see here, this script include is contains all the constants which are used as part of other script includes. So the first one is status codes. So they have like success, created, error, not found, internal error, 5 status codes. And then we have this messages, which are all these messages. Payload missing, invalid ticket type, invalid ticket ID, and then there's a failure for case and incident. There's a get failure, the patch failure, and so on. And then we have this priority mapping for cases. Yeah, then we have priority mapping for cases, and then similarly we have state mapping also here. So which means that if you have to introduce a new state, then or new priority, then this is where you have to make additional changes. And then we have contact types, all of these, and type mapping. Similarly, we have incident, priority, impact urgency mapping, then the reverse mapping, and then state mapping. And then this again incident contact type mapping. And then return fields. So what return fields will be part of the API call? Like if you make a get call, then what are the return fields? You can see there is ID, create date, last update date, description, severity, ticket type, name, status, channel, related party, note, type, and related entity. And then we have default values like what is the severity default, channel default, status default, again same with incident. And then we have schema, which is create trouble ticket. What is the schema for that? There's properties, there is severity, there is ticket type, and the required fields. and then trouble ticket update schema, like what are the uh, entities of that, which is title, type, properties, and required. So this is the first script include, which is trouble ticket API constants. Next API is trouble ticket API util. The purpose of this API is to provide functions which will process the API calls. For example, if there's a post call, a get call, a patch call, all that is processed by this script include, right? So if you see here, there is a logging level which is configured as part of the constants, and that is mapped to this logger variable. And the schema validator, which ensures that whatever the payload which is sent, for example, for patch or put, for patch or post, it meets the schema requirements. And then there is a response processor. So if you make a get call or a post call or patch call, then this will create that response. And then the next is a trouble ticket processor, which basically performs a function of updating the records, creating the records, and so on. The first one is process post request for case, which means create a case. And first there is a validation, which basically validates the case JSON. And if the results are greater than 0, then which means that it has failed the validation. So you'll get a case creation failure message and then failure payload information. And then similarly, uh, if you want to write any customized validation, you can do that here. And then you have this create case record. So if there is no failure, then you will go ahead with creating a case. And then there's a prepare post response for case. So once the case is created, then you want to prepare the response in terms of what information you'll pass back to the requester. And then we have an exception handling setup here in case anything goes wrong in the steps. Then there's a get the request for case. And here again, there's a verification that happens for the case ID to see if the case ID is valid. If yes, then you will prepare the get response and then handle response with fields. So we said there are a set of fields that you want to be part of the response. So that is part of this. Then there's the exception handling again. Then there's a patch request for case. So first again, for post and for patch, there's a schema validator that runs first to ensure that the JSON is valid, and then the required action is taken in terms of updating the case, and then there's exception handling again. And then these are the individual functions which are used for performing those operations, like for example, create case record. So this one is creating the case here. So, and then it is also building this set reason message objects. And then it also logs an error if there's a failure. And then it's making a glide call. It is operating all these attributes of case like description, priority, contact type, and so on. And then it is doing an insert here. So now here it is checking a few things. Let's talk about that a little bit. So referred type, right? So here we are talking about a related party for this case. So if there is a customer contact information, or if there is a customer information or product or asset. So these are all the attributes of a case, like who is the customer contact on the case and what is the customer for the case and on which product or asset the case is being reported. So all that is derived here. And then the case is created successfully or failure, that information is captured here. Similarly, there's an update. In case of update, we are updating work notes and comments. So that is done here. And similarly, the referred type is also mentioned here, like customer contact or customer product or asset. And then there is an update that happens here. Then post response. So once the case is created, then what is the response we pass back to the system making this call. So you pass the sys ID of the case in ID column, right, or ID element. Then created date, last update date, description, severity, ticket type, name, which is short description, status, and channel. And then in terms of related party, we are sending the ID, which is the case account ID, which is, I think it should be the sys ID of the case account, right? And then the name, and then the type, which is customer. And then for customer contact, we're doing the same thing, sys ID of the contact, and the name. And then assignment group, we're sending the same thing, name and the sys ID assigned to the same thing. And then related entity, so product, if product is present, then we send the product, and then asset. So these are the related party and related entity information that is passed back to the as part of the post call. And yeah, that is about that. And then prepare get response. So if somebody is making a call to get the information, then they pass the sys ID, and then we will retrieve that information here, making a glide record. Pretty straightforward. So for severity, there is a mapping that is used, and then similarly for status. So, and then again, related party, related entity. So we're passing all this information here, and then entity information here. And then patch again, very similar. This ID, you're updating information, and then you pass the data back. And then you have this, that is all for the case. Similarly, we have the functions for incident. So for incident, if you see, again, there's a schema validation that happens as the first step. And then if it's a failure, we return that information here. There is some exception handling written here. If everything is good, then we process the request, and then there's a get request again, same thing. We verify if the incident ID is valid, then we process it. Otherwise, we will handle the exception. Similarly for patch. Right? So now these are the individual methods which does the work in the backend, which is create incident record. Here again, we are using description, impact, urgency, contact type, state, short description. And then here we have work notes and comments. In addition to that, in related party, we have same customer contact and customer. And then in case of update, also same thing. So customer contact and customer. So we don't have asset or product here, which is interesting. And then similarly, you have in the post response, you'll send customer contact, assignment group, and assign to fields as a related party. There is no related entity here because we don't have product and asset. And then similarly for get response, again the same thing. We have this related party information. And then for patch also same thing again. So you have the related party information. And then the response fields. So we have the list of fields already defined as part of the constants. So if you see here, so these are the response fields that will be used there, and then we are going to build the JSON response for that. Then similarly, the error object we create whenever there's an exception that comes up. So yeah, so that is about the second script include. So we'll do a quick recap. So in this video, we have seen telecommunications and media assurance workflows 1.3.9. What are the different objects which are as part of this application scope? So we have covered the first two script includes. In the subsequent videos, we'll cover the remaining script includes and remaining objects. Thank you for watching. This is Anil.